So that when people come in, the minbar is used for the main salah and then the Jummah khutbah, and then there is a corner always on the left side, a dedicated seated area where the Imam comes in, gives the lecture, and people get to sit and be exposed to the concept of restful, peaceful learning. And I was informed by one of the brothers that this is particularly of help. When in Ramadan you feel that down of energy, after Asr, they say people come in and sit down, relax, and there is this stuff going on, and you can enjoy the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the presence of angels. So we went through that. And the incredible beauty was great, backed by wonderful food, fresh cheeses, vegetables, fruits, and all the delectable meats, the kebabs of different types, and then the chai and the local drinks, rose, almond flavors. All of those, and the desserts, amazing. All of that, nothing as beautiful as the people that we encounter. So on the interfaith front then, and I've got 8 minutes, inshallah I'll pull this all together, because there's so much to talk about. I'm so excited, so inspired. So, at one of the major mosques within the fortress, after the Jummah was done, we noticed, my wife and I, a couple there, checking out. They were obviously not Muslim, but they were checking things out in detail. So I walked up to this gentleman and I said, may I be of some help? And he said, I want to understand what's happening. So I explained the general mosque there, and then we left. On the outside, he was waiting. And then he said, may I bother you and get your number? I said, sure. I wanted to ask for his number, but I was a little hesitant. He asked for the number, and then he said, I am from Romania. I said, sure, we would love to visit you. And it was interesting, his response was, come, I'm a very famous man there. He used that term. He said, I'm very famous. I said, oh, wonderful. He said, I'm a judge there. And then his wife who was with him, he said, she's a lawyer too. And I said, I'm a lawyer too, I just happen to be one. He said, what we focus on in Romania is the civil rights of immigrants, of all of the migrants going through the region. What an honor to meet people like this who are dedicated, people of other faiths. So he said, please come and visit us and we'll show you what is going on. One additional thing on the interfaith front, and then I'll move on to some of the wonderful stories of our own people. I take you back to the time we were leaving. We were coming back to Istanbul. All of us ready, packed, checked in, and then we realized that they were overbooked. So they were bumping us off. I've traveled internationally, so I'm used to it a little bit. But there was this one young lady who I could tell was very agitated. Initially she was screaming, and then she was crying. So I walked up to her and I said, calm down, let's see what can happen. And just that word, she suddenly broke down and started crying. And she said, I cannot be here alone. She says, I have never traveled alone. There was a friend of mine who was in first class and she went in and I'm left alone. She started crying. I said, we'll figure out a way. And then she would sit down, another few minutes she'd start crying again. So I pointed that out to my wife and I said, look, my wife is here, she'll be with you. And we will be with you. If you're stuck, we'll take care of you. But anyway, to cut the story short, they then started announcing, okay, a few people can walk up and go in. They asked for our names. And having encountered her and having learned from this experience, we did the obvious thing. They said, can you take care of this lady, sir? So they said, you sure? You and your wife? I said, yes, please, let her go. So they announced that she'd go in, and then as she was going, the door shut again, and she started crying again. She said, thank you, but I still cannot go, what can I do? But then they said, opening the door, they were ready to pull her and said, go in. But she comes running back, hugs my wife, pulls me and her together and says, you're good people. And she cries and goes away. We stayed in touch. And last week as I was doing the Jummah, I called her on the way and I said, hey, listen, I'm going for my Jummah. Is there a message that you want me to communicate? And she said, just tell everybody there is good in all of humanity. And she said, I've been speaking about you two good people, she said. As Muslims all over Seattle that I'm connected to, she's a real person. I share that because these are the experiences of ta'aruf that we need to keep in mind, inshallah. And then, my dear brothers and sisters, what can I tell you about these Muslims out there? We visited a family in this town of Gostevar. It actually is based on guests, and a castle of guests. So they treated us to an amazing breakfast with personal service. We were struck by how many people were serving us personally. I thought, good, they have a lot of people around, servants. It turns out those are the family members, the sons and daughters, who wanted to personally serve guests. This is what we learn about their love. And the patriarch of the family said, what we have focused on is keeping the family together at all costs. Our children, they stick together. They work, they study, but they come and we work together as a family. And he said, take that message back. Keeping the family together. And then, brothers and sisters, we had some wonderful experiences with a set of brothers who were active during the war, Muslim brothers, and engaged with the United Nations forces in the Bosnia region. And these wonderful brothers, they inspired us incredibly. And amazingly, one of them ended up being from the community here. I had no idea my dear brother would be there. But these two people. And so in a series of discussions, my point to them was, what inspired you to do all of this in the path of Islam? And I'm sharing a couple of those stories. Because they said, we owe our inspiration to the remarkable upbringing from our mother and our grandmother. So he said a couple of instances as they were growing up. This dear brother shared as he was going. He said, when I was young, she would give us the money to go and get something from the grocery store, and she'd be very particular when he came back to check the receipt. And the purpose was looking for extra change that may have been given back. The focus not on what we do. Did they give me all the things I paid for? Here, her focus was there any extra money returned? And then when that came through, she'd say, you're returning it back now. She was a seamstress tailoring clothes, and she was known for using the minimal amount of clothes for the dresses, and people would be amazed. You know how the tailors can work out. She would cut out in a manner where you use the minimum, and she would make it a point of returning that extra cloth. And so these brothers said, that's what we grew up with, Islamic values, and these are Macedonians, Albanians, Muslims. And I tend to think, oh, I know Islam. I know better here. So that, and then quickly, his grandfather, he would tell us, he would visit the family home at dawn time. And casually he would check around and see are the kids up for salah. And then he would instill discipline and cleanliness, saying, make your bed, broom your room to clean it up. And then he taught him, he said, how you overlap the brooming so that no inch or centimeter of ground was left unturned. And the inspiring thing that I want to share is that he would say, every now and then he would check and say, after the double brooming was done, there's this thread fallen on the ground. That thread from the mother stitching. So he would say, okay, I'll take care of it, go do it again. He would do that repeatedly. And my dear brother indicated that years later his mother said, after you were done cleaning, every now and then he would deliberately drop that thread around so that this young man would notice the importance of attention, going back and doing that with discipline. So that, brothers and sisters, and then I will end very quickly. Two very important points that I learned from there. One was, we were exposed to these wonderful beaches and the tourists traveling around in the Muslim area, so the tendency is, God, these are Muslim regions, and what happened to Islam, and who's practicing that? And then I was brought down to earth. When our guide in the Grove, Sister Jannah, and I promised her I'd really relay this, she was wearing long sleeve clothes, and I told her, young lady, it's so good to see you modestly dressed. We were a little concerned, and she put me in place when she requested. She said, don't judge our faith by what you see on the outside. Don't judge our faith by the clothes we wear. We've gone through a difficult time. Our faith is carried in our hearts, and we know it. Let's take that message. Similarly, brothers and sisters, in Sarajevo, we met Sister Azra. She took us around and showed us. We went through the Tunnel of Hope, which allows citizens to survive the longest siege of a city in modern history when the Serbian forces blocked out 45,000 got killed. We know the horror story. Ethnic cleansing going on. But then she spoke, we saw this old lady with photographs all over. As the people would come out of the tunnel into the home, she would stand there, 80, 90-year-old lady, making sure those people were fed water from her hand as a means of solace and thanks. And she to Sister Azra gave this message. She said, don't judge our people. Don't be judgmental. Look beyond our experience. Look at what we have gone through. Keep your minds and hearts open. And I ended up also bumping into the foreign minister of Bosnia-Herzegovina, Elmadin Konakovic. And I told him, people from North America, Muslims are concerned, want to help out. And he said the same thing. He said, come here. Come here. Know what beautiful countries are here and what beautiful people are here. Help us, support us, experience our beauty and support our economy. So brothers and sisters, I promise that I will, inshallah, as soon as I get back, communicate this message to our people out here in my Jummah khutbah. And the key message, my dear brothers and sisters, is to remember the global nature of our ummah, to pray for our brothers and sisters around the world, visit the Muslim communities wherever possible. Yes, of course, we'll plan for the Hajj and the Umrah and the pilgrimage to Al-Aqsa, but beyond that, when we do our vacations to be planned, let us keep in mind these wonderful Muslim countries and the Muslim communities. The Balkans are a wonderful option. Macedonia, Kosovo, Albania, Montenegro, Bosnia, Sarajevo. Plan these in our trip. Let us go and meet them, appreciate the beauty, connect with them, support them, but most importantly, let us not be judgmental. And I've come back, changed in that perspective, to be more careful, not coming to a judgment by just looking at the exterior of people. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us truly appreciate the diversity of nations and tribes He has created. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us to truly become knowing of each other so that we discharge the amana and the obligation of ta'aruf, of getting to know each other. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hence bond our hearts together so that we become appreciative of the global ummah which He has blessed us to be a part of. Ameen. Ya Rabbal Alamin. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, salatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I was going to talk about this particular chapter, but inshallah I'll save that for the next Jummah, because this has a story behind it. It comes from Tunisia, and how the regenerative farming has led to wonderful work on behalf of the artisans. But I promised them that I wear this time when I come here and communicate this message of the communities in Tunisia too, in the Balkans, elsewhere, as we speak about oppressed people who are going through difficulty. May Allah make it easy for all of them and help us truly become bonded together, inshallah. أما بعد فيا معاشر المسلمين، قال الله سبحانه وتعالى إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد بعدد من صلى وسام. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد بعدد من قعد وقام. اللهم صل على جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى سائر الصحابة وخلفاء الراشدين والتابعين وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. اللهم اعز الاسلام والمسلمين. اللهم قوي ايمان اخواننا واخواتنا في كل مكان، خصوصا في فلسطين وسوريا ويمن وكل الجزائر وكل افريقيا وكل امريكا وكل اسيا، خصوصا ايران وعراق واندونيسيا وماليزيا وافغانستان وباكستان وبنغلاديش وهند والصين وميانمار وروس وفي البلقان ويوكرين وتونسيا وفي كل مكان. اللهم قوي ايمانهم وثبت اقدامهم وانصرهم على عدوهم. اللهم اشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين وارحم موتانا وموتى المسلمين. اللهم ارحم والدينا ووالد والدينا. ربنا هب لنا من ازواجنا وذرياتنا قرة اعين واجعلنا للمتقين اماما. امين يا رب العالمين. عباد الله رحمكم الله، ان الله يامر بالعدل والاحسان وايتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله اكبر. اقيموا الصلاة inshallah. My abject apologies to the management and to all of you. I know the sign was also here. I tried my best, but I got carried away with emotions and took a few more minutes. Please forgive me. Do not hold the management responsible. The blame is on. May Allah forgive me and you all, inshallah.